Your listeners are going to get the inside scoop. We passed the bill this past session, AB 341, and part of what we did with the legislation is we said that the Cannabis Compliance Board, which oversees the cannabis industry here in Nevada, should promulgate regulations. We didn't want a lot of the stuff to live in statute because it's hard to go back and make those changes.
Okay.
So we basically gave a lot of leeway to the regulators to do a very public process through workshops and committee meetings and things like that. And they are very much continuing right now today, looking for input from folks in the industry and the community about the regulations that they drafted and released back in December.
Okay.
We had one workshop then. We submitted comments. One of the clients I work with, Chamber of Cannabis, who I represented to pass the bill during the session, I'm working with still presently today. It had not been for their foresight on this and their effort to say, we want to do this. And as I always say, to be smart enough to hire someone like me. It didn't have to be me, but they needed to hire a professional who does this, and they did that. And so now we're working on the regs. We expect to finish this process probably April.
Okay.
Maybe a little sooner, with licensing opening up first for dispensaries.
Okay.
And then for independent licenses, which will be divided between 10 of those go to social equity applicants. Those are folks who, per the definition right now the CCB is working on, you've in the last 5 years resided in a census tract area that meets specific criteria related to income, over policing, providing social services and other programs, and then of course either yourself, you have a misdemeanor or felony marijuana offense,
Got it.
or you have a immediate family member, spouse, parent, sibling who has a felony cannabis offense. And we know that's why we did that is because if your mom or dad got busted selling weed and spent time in jail, that was a huge disruption and caused a lot of problems for something that we now can do legally, right?
Right.
So social equity, it's our first license in Nevada to have that requirement. I think there's a lot more we're going to do on social equity going forward.
Sure.
It's not just that we should, we will.
Okay.
And then I would say the other 10 licenses, of those, at least 30% of those have to go to a business that meets a diversity criteria, either a woman-owned or minority-owned business.
Okay.
And that means that most of these licenses are going to end up in the hands of people who are not currently represented in this industry as owners.
Okay.
So that was really important to us when we said
20 additional licenses outside of, and so as I understand it, if you have a retail shop, you are entitled to one.
Yeah, and if you own 7 retail shops, you only get one. So you got to
it.
pick the location you want. And that was out of a matter of fairness, really.
Understood.
We wanted to make sure that the independence.
Otherwise, that stirs up what we just went through.
Correct. And by the way, one of the things that will be of interest to folks applying is that it's not going to be a merit-based system for the application. You'll have a pass-fail kind of. Did you qualify?
Okay.
And then there'll be a lottery for those licenses or a randomization process. They do that in Arizona.
Okay.
And while we didn't explicitly request that in the legislation, we did discuss this with the CCB during the session and left it up to them to decide because they get to decide how they issue these licenses. And so we think that lottery process is going to eliminate a lot of the potential for lawsuits and things like that.
Sure. Gosh, let's stay out of that again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the first lounges will open sometime this summer.
Okay.
There's a few dispensaries, retail stores in town I know that have space and have had space available for a while. In 2019, I helped draft the ordinance at the city of Las Vegas for social use venues and lobbied on that and worked with the city. And they got ahead of this back then. And then the AB 533 passed during the 2019 legislative session that put a moratorium in place. So that ordinance never went into effect.
That's right. I remember that.
But companies like Oasis.
Like wheels up, wheels down.
Correct.
Yes.
I mean, we had 30 days of that being the law until it went into a holding pattern.
Yeah.
Oasis Cannabis Dispensary, we're one of the groups that we're working on that. I know that they'll probably be one of the first venues to open, I
Okay.
think. That's not because I've talked to them. It's not
Okay.
an endorsement of. I just know that they've had a space ready to go for a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been very active in support of the Chamber's efforts and support of the efforts in 19. And there's a few other groups like that. I
Okay.
mean, I hear Planet 13 is going to do a big venue.
Of course.
Thrive's got a location down near the strip. They're talking about doing a cool venue there. There's
Yep.
going to be some lots of venues
Absolutely.
probably in and around or near the corridor. Because what we did say in the bill was that an existing dispensary that was within that 1,500-foot boundary from a gaming license,
Okay.
unrestricted gaming license, we said that they would be grandfathered in and allowed to open up this new license type
Okay.
attached to their retail store.
Okay.
We did not think it would be fair because you were already within that
Sure.
1,500-foot buffer
Yeah.
that you couldn't get one of these.
Right. That I would
So
agree.
there will be
Mhm.
several of these that open up within 1,500 feet, but they're going to be
Mhm.
attached to those retail stores.
Just get it, man.